Welcome to ReReview, where we watch movies from our past with a perspective from today. Your hosts are Matt, Bobby, and Austin, and we love the films from our youth, so we're taking a look back to see if they still hold up. On this episode, we're discussing Disturbia. It was released in 2007, directed by DJ Caruso, stars Shia LaBeouf, David Morse, and Carrie-Anne Moss. This movie is about Peeping Toms. Now, this is a fair warning. We're spoiling an 18-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it, we will be revealing key plot points. You know, when I think of key openings that make you feel serene and comfortable and things are at ease, nothing more like fishing, doing some fly fishing in the water with your beloved family members, and not expecting within the next 5 to 7 minutes they're just going to make it a super tragic movie from that. I don't think I was ready. I was loving the bonding moment, and I was here for the fly fishing. And I think I made the comment, I don't remember the last time I went fishing, and it made me go, I should probably go fishing again sometime soon. No, you guys didn't feel that way? Okay, I understand.
It's funny because it's like one of those moments in a movie that I think that it, considering what happens afterwards, not the fishing into the accident, but his relation, because it seemed like a very healthy relationship with his father, right? Mm-hmm. And to then see, it's funny because I saw this movie probably not too long after it came out. I don't think I really saw it in full since then. And so I wasn't entirely I remembered the key parts of this movie for the most part, but I was like, did the psycho neighbor become a stepdad figure during this? And is that where this is kind of leading? You saw the healthy relationship and then the very unhealthy relationship later on, but then it took half an hour before they introduced him. Yeah. Was it Mr. Turner? So I'm mm-hmm. It was kind of weird. It was a very serene, refreshing, healthy to see, Kale in a good place, and to flip from a tragedy, right? Because they survived the first hit, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second hit was just, and they were just kudos to them. I think not showing him and just showing Kale's face, looking, I think was a much better moment.
Right. I fully agree, because I feel like many movies would have been that as oh no, I can't believe. And then there's, a talk back and forth, live your life fine without me, right, young one. Yeah. It'll be okay. And so this is going to sound terrible. I had a sense of relief that, seeing Kale's face, and it was kind of they went there. They're just saying this is it.
It definitely reminded me, and it's completely a different movie, but it reminded me a little bit of Kingsman a little bit. How that movie opened with Eggsy's dad dying in service or whatever, but it's the same kind of parallel, right? Afterwards, whatever they're trying to say socially, I guess, but the idea that after a tragedy like that, they kind of fell into, because didn't they say prior to the punching event or whatever, he had 2 priors or something?
Yeah, correct.
So in that year, 2 other things happened, whatever they were.
Right, but he was perfectly well behaved beforehand. Other than I guess a sense of humor about pregnancies.
Yeah, I would assume that. It just seemed because of their relationship and the way that he was prior to that. My guess is it was lashing out, right? From the situation.
Right.
I'm sure there's therapists and psychologists that can probably speak better to how people cope with trauma and, the formative years of your life missing out on a parental figure in that position. So, but it's not he had unlike Kingsman, I feel like his mom Trinity was, well balanced. She was employed or whatever, but it's just that challenge.
He was only called that the whole movie.
I know. Julie was her actual name. She was Trinity. Okay. Carrie-Anne Moss.
Trinity.
Yeah, and she's been in lots of other stuff before and after The Matrix, but with mad respect, Trinity.
With nothing but respect. I guess the tragedy means you can't take time to learn your Espanol to give a presentation. Quizás. You should study your Espanol.
Somebody said centavos, por favor.
Cinnamon toast and tacos, please.
Oh, God.
That we get to these characters. You meet Kale. Obviously, you get the tragedy. You meet his friend that we don't know is his friend right at the beginning, right? That Ronnie. But obviously, he's there for, I guess, I'll comic relief. I'm not gonna lie. I found the kiss ass joke, although lengthy, somehow endearing. Am I alone?
Yeah, no, I mean it was good. I think that's one of those moments where it's like you have to, because like you said, you don't really know that they're friends at first, because like I think it takes like a while before he comes to his place afterwards.
Well, he tried to kick him to wake him up, so he was trying to get his back a little bit so he didn't get in trouble in school.
But Ronnie, the character was essentially like the stoner kid.
Yeah, he's
right.
He's the stoner character that And when you really think
Which about it, Kumar, or he was Harold.
I went straight to Cabin in the Woods, to be honest. Thinking about him, but because I'm like, especially like in more modern movies, like I think they kind of, he's kind of shaggy, right? Like they take that trope of like bad things happen, but somehow they still make it by the end,
Right.
So yeah, comedic relief, the good friend character, in a lot of ways he's his proxy, right? He had to be his proxy for most of the movie.
Right.
So I think they had to really establish his character to be, honestly, a more likable character than Kale, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's
Kale's like, risk your life. Keep doing it. Don't worry. It's like, no.
We'll get into some problematic items of Kale. Well, we can start with number one. Item number 3 on his rap sheet is punching his Spanish teacher out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think we learned from our good buddy, Mr. Turner, there are sometimes teachers you want to unalive, is what he said. Did you go through this moment where you wanted to apply fisticuffs to your to the adults in your life you were there to teach and guide you in school in particular? Really, that question is for Bobby. I feel like
I don't know.
I'm judging him already.
I don't know if it was that extreme, but I do remember like being thoroughly annoyed by authority at certain times.
Could you imagine a teacher getting in your face that way?
No, that's a bit much. I mean, I've been screamed at by football coaches, and I just remember thinking at the time, like, this is JV football, man. Like, you clearly care about this way more than I do. Like,
it's very adult of you. They were very passionate about the lower rungs of football.
Yeah.
So you didn't run up and tackle them. Yeah, that probably would have created an issue if you did that.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to just, I don't know, do something.
But I mean, it was the driver here. He knocks out his teacher, Mr. Gutierrez. And ultimately, it's what allows for the path of we get to see them in court. He gets the hint that he could have had a 3-year sentence, but then he gets, 3 months of house arrest, I believe is what it was. To really set up the whole entire scheme of this movie, which is hence the Peeping Tom. How much are you spying on your neighbors, guys?
For legal reasons, I cannot answer that question as stated.
If you were trapped in your house because you had to wear an ankle bracelet because you can't leave a certain perimeter of your home, I guess you got to figure out things to do. And we could probably get into the tech conversation here. This is right as the internet is kind of maybe turning into something, getting into what we resemble today. The movie's 2007. So what, they filmed this 2006-ish. Probably still getting on AOL at this point, is my guess. Is what would you spend your time doing? I mean, he represented the key things, and if Trinity Julie didn't take away the Xbox and the iTunes, and I will note the Xbox interface didn't work like that. It was close in imagery, but it didn't work like that. Why wouldn't you at the teenage high school age do nothing but play video games and listen to music and maybe not clean your house?
This dude broke his washing machine. I mean,
did that trigger you?
Yeah, it really did. I was like, what the heck? Like, This is an insane person who does this. Stands on top of it, overloads it to where you can't even close the door.
And a large amount of detergent in both the laundry basket and the dishwasher.
That was completely unhinged right there.
Well, we talked about, I mean, when should a man know how to clean house?
I will admit that growing up, I did yard work, mowing the yard and all that kind of stuff. And I'd probably help clean sometimes, but like, I don't think I did laundry until I moved out on my own.
Yeah, I think it was probably embarrassingly late for me when I figured out how to do laundry.
There probably is a rites of passage from a laundry thing for so many different reasons that someone might learn it very early to much later. I just imagining that world where, let's say his new girlfriend, Ashley, is an expert at laundry. I don't think Shia is ever going to learn how to do laundry. Sorry, Kale, not Shia. Shia probably knows how to do laundry. We get introduced to his creeper status, I guess, fairly early on, right? From him just seeing the neighbors moving in and he's got binoculars, and that really sets up everything that happens where he just decides, I need to pay attention to everything that's happening around the neighborhood. Matt, you eloquently dodged the question. Good job. We're looking at this
from me. Way to go.
Yeah. Well, you were just quiet. Even better. He sits at home. He lost his iTunes. He lost his Xbox, and now he just wants to kind of watch what's going on. And he kind of turns into almost like my brain thought of Truman Show, where he was watching like the regular schedules of the people around him and being able to detail and be like, here's what's going to happen here. And he sees the other neighbors cheating or something's going on there. And the kids are watching porn way too early. And
too early.
Yeah. And then and he's got the neighbors who move in, and he just starts creeping on the girl neighbor. And it seems to never end. Like the creep status just continues.
I like being so. I mean, obviously, this is very inspired by Rear Window, but just viewing the world around him or whatever, I think would have been fine. I mean, yeah, I think you made the comment. Why does everyone got their windows open? But
there were no blinds anywhere.
Yeah. I do think that that's not entirely a weird thing. I think a lot of people don't really consider, especially like if you have multi floors or whatever. But not that I would know. But the that part of it was fine. When she came into the picture, it just felt really not good during that. Like, because it got to a very we were all teenagers, but that's. At some point, especially with an ankle bracelet on, you have to be like, nope, this is going too far.
But I guess what I could ask is, how was this play at establishing a romance between the two of them? Because he's being a creeper, and the way they start this with is basically her catching him creep and playing into it.
Yeah, that was weird for me.
Not being completely turned off by it and calling him out on it. And even before the idea of the romance, because the first time she figures out is like when Ronnie was there, right?
When she comes to the door.
And then that's when, because this is after they start having the suspicions about the other neighbor. So remember,
he watched her while she was like working out before the dad came in.
Oh yeah.
And she already was like giving looks, right?
Yeah.
That was before, right?
So yeah, because I mean, that's kind of the question. And I'd assume that she did, but then her question later is like, how long have you been watching me? Makes me kind of wonder if that actually did happen or not.
I thought she was just trying to validate his creep status, and then he went for the Hail Mary and tried to pivot the creep status into like, look at how endearing I am. I could describe all of your nuance because I've been staring at you intently without your knowledge.
I will give the movie some credit if you read between the lines, the fact that, whenever you move into, generally speaking, I'm going to ignore the party for the moment, but generally speaking, whenever you move to a new neighborhood, you don't know anyone, you don't, you're kind of isolated. Clearly her family has issues. This is why she's always hanging out on her roof, right? Reading books and stuff. So any sense of friendship or adventure or something a little bit, maybe, you know, I don't want to use the word naughty, but like, you know, probably questionably legal, probably would have attracted her into that situation to like, oh, this is kind of a game. And now I'm kind of making friends around my age. But then it was kind of weird because all of a sudden, and maybe I missed it. Maybe where like that one girl had like some nickname, Skinny Penny or something. I must have missed that.
That's a great question because I do wonder if there was stuff cut out because they kind of touched on there was weird drama going on, and you know, we really didn't need this to be like a high school drama, like hierarchy, like kind of, you know, nerds type of movie, but like. It is interesting how they kind of touched on how they kind of made fun of some people and there was some kind of like, you know, like caste system.
Without it being explored.
Right.
Right. It was just like a quick hint of him basically making fun of her for joining the hot people, right? Hanging out with the jocks and stuff.
Which, I mean, kudos to the movie because you really didn't need all that stuff. I mean, I thought it was a little bit weird that they were talking about some stuff, but like I was like, okay, like we don't really need to go there. It's implied, I guess.
They set up this house party because I guess we learned through this that she's going to the same school. Maybe, I don't know, just making assumptions. And so she meets Minnie, and her name was Skinny Minnie, or
Psycho, something
another like a bad name.
Yeah.
And this makes him jealous. So he decides to blow out the party with music like a very controlling freak.
Mm-hmm.
And then proceed to have ultimate confession where she tells him that's either the creepiest thing I've ever heard or the most romantic, something along those lines.
Yeah. And apparently she was driving towards the romantic side of it because she continued to speak to him.
Because she's a bit broken just like him. In a lot of different ways. Yeah, it's a weird dynamic because obviously by the end of the movie we have them kissing. But let's go to the flip side for why they both get to be creepy together, which is we see early on he's flipping through the news and we get the hint that there's someone's missing. There's a woman missing and there's a baby powder blue Mustang that is of concern. And lo and behold, his neighbor, Mr. Turner, is driving said Mustang. And now we get into the, is he or isn't he the true antagonist of this tale? And is he a serial killer? And all the steps that go to finding that out. All tied around him just continuing to be a creeper. If it wasn't for all the suspenseful music, would you care?
Probably not.
Well, you know what it made me think of, especially some of the moments like when Turner first kind of sees him creeping on him when he invites the redhead over or whatever that night, and Kale thinks that he's gonna unalive her, which
it looked like he was.
Yeah, I know that part was kind of weird because then later on there's like the red wig and everything, so like I think it was all kind of set up. But
oh, you mean like he knew beforehand?
I think
brought her as a you're watching me, so I'm going to fake you out.
I'd probably have to pay a little bit more attention to it to see if because like there was the wig and everything, and like it just felt like maybe the whole point of that was to kind of trick Kale as to what had happened. But I do think that during those moments, so when he visits Kale at his house, breaks in, or whatever you want to call it, to, his mom lets him in. And then like the moment at the shopping parking garage with Ashley, I think those moments, it was a really good case of, if you've ever seen those videos where it's taking a scene and putting different music to it, and it has a completely different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I had that feeling because like they put creepy music in, so it had creepy stuff, and then obviously his tone was a little bit creepy too. But you could have put more romantic music to it, and it might have had a different vibe.
Hold up, okay.
He was only what was the word? Slightly older.
Yeah, that's why when you said the romantic music, I am uncomfortable um, with him. Obviously, he knows when people are watching him, so you're right. He probably figured Kale was stalking him from the house, and he put everything together. But to get into Ashley's car, turn off the engine, and caress her hair while saying a young woman being into like an older man. What the F, bro?
Yeah, I didn't understand the whole like was him trying to think she was following him for a different reason, another part of his tricks?
I assume so, to be honest, because I feel like, and this was kind of my problem with the later half of the movie, where it kind of seemed like he just didn't care anymore if he got caught, because he just went all out. And I kind of get that in like desperation, but because of the setup of his house, it kind of gave the feel of like intelligent, being very meticulous and everything. So my thought was, and again, with the whole redhead wig thing, if that was a setup, the idea that he would have said all that in order to, because it kind of worked if you think about it, because afterwards when she goes back, yeah, Kale's all freaked out because of the creepiness. Not that he can really speak about that, but it put doubt in her mind, because if he would have, pulled a threat, like you need to stop following me, or like, you don't know it,
Sure,
some sort of threat, I think it would have like stoked it. But instead of, like, hey, baby girl, I know you're following me over here, but
right.
I'm kind of shy,
Plus, I mean, that's a really good way to get her off of his trail, right? Like, ooh, I don't want to have anything to do with this dude anymore. I'm not going there at all.
That seems to be her thing, though. So maybe it had the opposite effect. So
right,
creepers are just, I guess, her jam. So
oh jeez, oh my goodness, I didn't think about it that way either. Oh man, she did give him the pass after that. He was a nice man.
Whoever gives her attention, I guess.
Oh boy. All right. I am going to move on now. As far as your typical serial killer character, I felt like he walked and moved a bit Jason-y in a way. Like there seemed like he was channeling some of that in some instances. And at the end of the day, his reckless abandon, I think we were asking the questions like, why didn't you just leave? Why did you let the police show up to your house and proceed to unalive a cop and just do the thing and eventually have, okay, I guess we should ask Bobby, how do you feel about his death?
And not one of my more favorite serial killer deaths in movies. I mean,
that's not how I want my serial killers to die.
Right. I mean, I thought the whole multi-layer setup of the house was kind of neat, with the whole like weird bog in the bottom with all the water decaying corpses. But
see, this is what threw me for a loop. Okay, right. So when they're showing the very inappropriately pictured website of the past victims or whatever earlier in the movie, they clearly have found victims. They indicate that they believe that this person was responsible for multiple other incidences or whatever. And they talk about the fact that the bodies are strangely well preserved, right? The ones that they have found. Now we see later in his little Dexter's space or whatever, he's got fridges to keep them going, but then why put them into the water afterwards? Like,
I mean, I was thinking maybe he has all sorts of different places he's putting them.
But why? This is the part that like they kind of missed exploring, because even in like Halloween, for example, you kind of get a little bit of the psychology of Michael Myers. And obviously you get to see the opening sequence of him as a kid, and then you have his psychologist, which is kind of a good way of giving you insights to a character, because clearly, that's a professional who should know. So like there's little tidbits throughout the movie, and you kind of get a feeling about, about the sister and everything else. And there's the gravestone later on. So like you kind of get insights as to the why a lot of this kind of goes down, but you never really get that for Turner. No. And then they get to that. And it kind of felt like there was a dartboard with, how can we have the scares? Like, okay, well, we're going to have fridge people, and then we're going to have people like, what was it? Was it The Ring where there's like the body in the water, or so it's like just a master hits of, the serial killer trope in a way. So
fridge people just gave me a totally different image in my head.
I mean, this movie was like pretty tropey. I mean, like collecting information from news on movies and I mean or from news programs, but the car thing really bugged me. It's like they knew that he had a certain car, and this guy has that car, and it's like
you think they should have ran everyone who owns that car in the grader.
He's like, your car was dented, and he's like, oh, I had it fixed because it's a classic,
because I hit a deer.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's a little too
did he
coincidental there.
Did he go hunt the deer afterwards but he fixed it so quick, so there'd be no reason. Like, why was the deer there? Was it just to throw it off? But then he fixed it so quick. And he did it at home, I'm assuming, because it went into the garage broken, came out fixed. I'm assuming he fixed it there. So I'm like, was that just a excuse? Because he left it there for quite a while, and they even brought that up in the movie. So it's like, I don't know if he's smart or if he's stupid. I can't quite figure it out.
He's both. It's weird. But like, how did he fix the car? He's a mechanic by trade.
Yes.
Like, he's a body.
I guess, to be fair, it was a 60s Mustang, so it was actually made out of metal, so you probably could fix it if you had the skill set to do it. But yeah, that was, I don't know. And the dent being there in the first place is like, was the dent from, did he hit a person? Is that how he got somebody? Like, he ran them over on his car and took them? Or where did they see the car? I am so confused.
The only reason the car was in there was so that Shia and Ronnie or whatever could see it in the driveway and be like, oh, I think started off with them looking. That's the only reason. It's like a story thing. It doesn't make any other sense to me.
Yes. It's one of these where they gave the character, like, you not being satisfied with the death. One of my notes is essentially, why is it so easy to get him? Like, at the end of the day, his little lost battle was in a scenario in rooms he technically has control over, and he just lost it.
There was one scene where he had like a butcher knife in his hand, and it's like, there's a ton of memes where like, like there's these guys who say, oh, I could disarm this person with a knife, right? And then the person with the knife just like stabs the person like 10 times. And then they're like, no, wait, you're supposed to let me disarm you. It's like,
I think I've seen the extra layer on that where someone's saying, oh, I can disarm you. And then it just cuts to them being in heaven.
Right.
Because they thought they could do it and they clearly could not. Yeah. No, it was completely like that.
From a storytelling perspective, I think that what it was kind of lacking, especially if we're talking about Turner's ultimate death or whatever, it didn't have any sense of karma or payoff for something else. So it wasn't like there was something set up about the shears, right? There wasn't set up, it's almost like, if throughout the entire he had like his shoelaces untied and he actually ended up tripping on his shoelaces. Like, there was it literally just kind of happened. It was so sudden. I was borderline expecting they were going to pull a Halloween where they were going to look down and he was gone. And it turned out that there was like an exit thing out or something that he had set up.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe that was an intention, but maybe they did screenings like, no, this isn't going to be a franchise.
I mean, because when he was dead, I was like thinking like, this is definitely going to be one of those movies where he's going to get up one last time and
like reach up to the floorboard and grab him or something.
Yeah. Like try to kill him one last time.
Like scream. This is where the killer usually comes back.
What was our runtime on this one? Maybe they realized they didn't want to add more minutes to it, or they just cut everything out of the 2.5 hour
I
version
feel like
of this.
they cut a bunch of stuff. The way it feels to me, they cut stuff, but...
You know what they didn't cut? Enhance and zoom.
Yeah. Good old enhance and zoom. That is saved the day so much.
At least they didn't do the enemy of the state with like the rotation and
on that little DV tape.
It is kind of crazy though. We're here now, right? We finally reached enhance and zoom.
I would even still question if we were still even really at that level yet.
Enhance and artificially.
I know, because like
no, but that's the point. That's the point. Yeah, it is artificial.
But if I took a very blurry image, it's like, hey, zoom and enhance on this or whatever, it probably looked like a hand coming out of the head and 4 arms, and like it's still not there yet.
I guess we're close is what I'll say, but we're a lot better off than what these old movies used to portray. Oh God, 2007 old movie. Bobby, are you recommending Disturbia?
I mean, what they could have done is just shown we could clearly see what happened in the video. They didn't need to zoom in and enhance it.
Bobby the Bastion of zooming it in. Are you telling people to watch Disturbia, Bobby?
I can't get past zoom and enhance. No, I mean, for a good 2/3 or 3/4 of it, I was thinking, I enjoy this movie and it's moving pretty good and it's paced well and it's kind of well done. It's kind of minimal, which I found a bit charming, it's not quite like a one location movie, but it's not a lot. So, I like that. So I do think there's some redeeming things about it, but if you're looking for the best serial killer movie or the best I'm stuck in a house and I'm looking out of binoculars, this is probably not the best one.
I'll take a middling half recommendation, Matt. Are you saying people should watch Disturbia? Or should they listen to Rihanna?
Oh, God. I found myself not hating the experience of watching this movie. Like, I never felt like it really dragged. There was a couple parts where maybe I did, but it was never offensive to me. I think that this movie does suffer from a lot of missed good opportunities. I think that this movie personally would have been better had it focused a little bit less on the high school teen romance and more on the mystery and suspense of the murderer next door. I think that would have been a little bit better movie. I didn't really need the creepy Transformers-esque Shia LaBeouf stuff going on.
He didn't really even need to have his probation thing on, because eventually he broke it anyway.
It still acted as the plot device to why he had to stay in the house, right? Like there was no, you had to keep him in that location.
Bobby, what if Julie came in and just said, "You're grounded"?
Like, oh gosh darn, mom. All right. You got me. I think that it was at least a more clever, if we're talking about the fact this is definitely a homage to Rear Window, rather than just rehashing the fact that he broke his leg and that's why he's stuck in the house. It gave a legitimate reason why he had to be there.
When they had the car crash in the beginning and he was limping, I was like, okay, he's going to be hurt the entire movie. And that's going to be his disadvantage of why he can't fight back as well as he maybe could have otherwise. But no, they ended it there. He healed completely.
He lost his dad. My God. Okay.
I mean, he healed physically, maybe not mentally. Maybe he's mentally damaged and that was his handicap. He's like, I'm so sad. I can't fight the serial killer good enough.
Okay. Matt, what's your recommendation?
I think it's worth watching, but I wouldn't go out of my way. I think that there's probably, as Bobby said, more interesting movies out there. But if you happen to come across it, give it a watch. If it's on Netflix and, you have an hour 45 to burn, you could watch worse movies.
I think you hit on a key part for me. It's definitely break out the popcorn and don't ask much from what you're getting into, and enjoy the gritty old Xbox and iTunes and PSP and Netscape 1.0 browser. Enjoy that old tech flip phones, Boost Mobile, all of it. Just wonderful nostalgia tech trip that this movie was, and maybe don't try to zoom and enhance. Yeah, for me, it's break out the popcorn, don't ask much. You're kind of brain dead. Maybe you even scroll on your phone during this. For shame, don't do that. Put your phones down. Watch the movies. But you know, I think the Netflix angle or any sort of streaming service angle, if it's for free, is kind of the way to go. And maybe you can get your thrillers and suspenses from other films, as Bobby mentioned. As always, thank you for listening. And some of you may not believe this, but remember, this is a lot harder than it looks on the internet.